Hi, I'm Harry Reardon, author of The Recluse. You're watching 20 Questions With. Before you do anything, hit the bell, like, and subscribe. Thank you so much. Alan, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, my name is Alan Rehbock. I'm from South Africa.
And let's get started. Do you want to tell us about your childhood, how growing up? What was that like in South Africa?
Exciting. Yeah. All right. I was born in 1966. Then it was still very much apartheid regime here in South Africa. I had a colored father and a white mother. It wasn't very good ingredient here for South Africa at that time. My father was a drug dealer. My mother was a prostitute. Yeah, so with the apartheid era that time, my father had killed my mother, meaning I got involved, well, the welfare got involved, and I was put up in a foster home. I was fostered by a family. I don't recall. What I'm saying is what I was told. I was taken out of their foster care because apparently they used to burn me with cigarettes. Then I was adopted. The surname I've got now, Rehbock, that is my adoptive surname. I was born Victor John Walker. Then I got adopted by the Rehbock family. Early childhood years were good. They were a well-off family. All my needs were sorted out. That was the best of everything. When I got to standard 2, I think they call it grade 4 now. Yeah, standard 2, yeah. I had been developing some problems learning at school. And my family had approached the teacher and asked her if she could give me some extra tutoring in that. So I went off to the teacher for help after school. It turned out this teacher was helping herself in the field of sex, and that was my first sexual experience, was what the teacher. And when I said to her, no, I'm gonna tell my mommy and daddy about this, she said to me, that's not your mommy and daddy, they bought you. So I was very confused when I went home. And I said to mommy and daddy, my teacher said that you bought me. The bottom line is it all came out that I had been adopted. To me, what impacted my life was the fact that they had lied to me. If they had told me right from the beginning, as I was developing in my years, let me know. However, that first 7 years, we know that's the developing years of any kid. I found out when I was in grade 4. I'd gone past that already. So for me, as parents, yes, they provided materialistically and financially everything that I needed. But that trust of telling me the truth, and I had to hear it from somebody else. If I go back and I look now, not to justify or my behavior that turned out from there, that was all through decisions that I made. However, if I look back as to how that impacted my life, I never believed anything they said, and whatever they said, I did totally the opposite. And that led me down a road of confusion, pain on myself and a lot of people that my actions inflicted pain on. So the road of destruction from that pain, yes, I started using drugs, and yes, but that's not really, wasn't the problem. It was that brokenness that was within inside me that doesn't justify, but it gives me an understanding as why I went down that road, which is the situation in 99% of the cases of addiction. If you look at it, whether it's addiction or gangsterism, and you do a back you will see the brokenness. And my journey went on. You know, I had been told now through the welfare, my behavior made that I was certified a juvenile delinquent beyond control. How did my family deal with it? They sent me away to boarding school. So it was more rejection that was building up on me. Role model and father figure was void in my life. So where did I look for it? I looked for it in the gangs. That was a family to me. The whole gang was a family. The leader became my father figure. And us as kids, if daddy says something, we need to please daddy and we do it, whether it's good or bad. So if the dealer, the gang leader told me, go and kill somebody, I'm fulfilling daddy's wish. So I'm being good to him. It led me down a very dark road of crime, being shot. I shot people, people shot me. Half of my face was blown away. Why the people did it? They really don't think I was born this ugly. I was sure shot like this. Yeah, I took a bullet in the mouth. This side of my face is built up with metal plates. You can see over there, the top runs over. I got the nickname Face Off, because they removed my face and had to build it all up.
Pretty cool
You
name.
know, Face Off. You know, the times that I laid at death's door, through choices that I made in life. It doesn't matter what happened in my life. The decisions that I made had terrible consequences, bad consequences, things that I would never wish on anybody else. It leads not only physically, it leads you mentally down a road that I call it the noise in the head, when there's so much confusion and what you're doing, your judgment is totally non-existent. You know, we put labels on ourselves in life, and that the labeling and the stigma stays with you forever. But we've got to shake it off. There was numerous attempts on my life. I got a false hip. My hip was blown off. I got a false knee. My knee took a bullet. I've still got in my hand here, you can see. I got a bullet in my hand there. They can't take it out. Apparently, I'll lose the use of my arm. So I still got a lot of use in this hand. I even drive. I do everything with it.
Airport scanners must love you though, right?
No, I've got a device that takes me through. I've got a card. It's like a driver's license card.
Does it literally say I've got bullets in me?
No. It's got some other medical term there saying it means metal, prosthesis or something like that.
Oh, okay.
All right, that's it. It's in my car behind my visor where my license stays.
Can we?
You know,
sorry, can we go?
sorry.
Can we go back? Because I want. There's so many points you hit on. I want to make sure I catch them before I forget. So right at the very beginning, can I ask, why did your father kill your mother?
Okay, first they weren't married. My mother was more a woman of convenience to my father. My father being the drug dealer, my mother being a prostitute, etc., etc. The details I really don't know. Like my step family that adopted me, there are sisters around, but they were at that stage, they don't know the details. My stepmom and dad that does know the details. They've passed on and they've never told me. What I know is what I've been told and what I've heard. I have met my one biological sister who lives in South Africa, in Pretoria. I saw her for the first time, I think it was about 6-7 years ago. I'm speaking under correction. About, yeah, it could even be less, 5 years, something like that. She also doesn't know details, but she's older than me. She was the firstborn. And she hasn't got the same father as me. She's got the same mother, yes. So her situation was totally different to mine. But she was also put in a children's home. And we met up for the first time now 5 years, 6 years ago. Yeah. The details of my father, etc., she doesn't know, but all that, you know, that's all foggy to her because she was also small at that stage. The details she knows is also what she's heard.
So did you ever meet your father, your biological?
No.
Do you ever find out
No.
what happened to him?
I had heard that he got the death penalty and that he had hung. Even the depth of the truth of that, I could never really get to the bottom of it.
Yeah.
But what I can say is, in the life of gangs and being a drug dealer, because he was a gang leader and he was a drug dealer, it's either death or prison, and there's no track of him in prison.
Yeah.
Me thinking of my own mind those years ago, I had no need to go to jail. Do you understand?
Yeah.
Even though I went there for my own doings, in my mind, I was going looking for my father because I'd heard he was in jail. When I joined the gangs outside, I had heard what gang he was affiliated with, and I made sure that I affiliated myself with the gang that was fighting that gang so that I could kill him, because that is what I was to do. My mindset was, you killed my mother.
Yeah.
I don't care what my mother did. She stayed my mother.
No, of course. How old were you the first time you picked up a weapon?
I went to prison when I was 17. I think I was about 15, 16, 14, 15, 16, in and around that age.
And what weapon, because you obviously you said you've shot people. What was the first weapon you remember holding?
Okay, when you say weapon, do you mean firearm or do you mean knife or something else like that?
Both.
Sorry?
Both.
A knife, I think I was about 12 years old when I stabbed somebody.
Oh, wow. What was the situation around that?
It was over a girl. It was over a girl.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
We used to, as kids, we would always meet up together at the skateboard park, and I always used to carry a little lock blade knife on me.
Couple of inches.
And I don't know, I think he had beaten me in skateboarding and impressed the girl more than me, and I got cross about something with that, and then I had stabbed him. That was in Fishhook at the skateboard park many years ago.
What happened to him? You didn't kill him?
No. It was just I think I stabbed him in the leg because he was skating so well with his legs. He used his legs to skate so well. So I thought, okay, if I stab him in the legs, then he won't be able to skate anymore.
Logically, it does make sense. Yeah. And what about the first time that you held a firearm?
I think it was about 14, 15. I was about 14, 15. It was in Ocean View.
And the very first time that you fired that, what was that like?
It gives you like an adrenaline rush of nobody can touch you now.
Yeah.
Now, you know, if I look at it now, it's more of a feeling of safeness. Now you feel okay. Now you feel protected, and nobody can anymore look down, push you down, because this is what you're going to do. You know, it's like a false sense of power, of protection, all gelled together.
And the very first person you shot, did you? What does that do to you emotionally and physically?
You know, I was so deeply trapped. Everything that I thought I was doing was right. And because there were no consequences, that used to sort of let me even feel better that I'm doing what I'm doing is right. I would always justify whatever I did wrong. I would have something to justify why I did it.
Yeah.
You know, like I always tell people, they ask me, Alan, how did I do it? I didn't do anything. God had to give me a transformation of the mind. It had to. That's where the victory was in the mind. And I really had to adapt to the mind switch. And it was difficult. In and out of prison life, was 35 years an addict, 21 years, 6 months in prison, in and out, up and down. You like become part of the furniture there. When you do leave, they don't say, go well. They say, when you're coming back, you're going out on holiday. You know, if I have to look back and really think, you know, I had a motorbike accident in the year 2000. We had been partying on Signal Hill from the new millennium until the 7th. Well, on the party still went on Signal Hill. But I had to be at court on that day. So I had left Signal Hill on my way to Simonstown Court. But as I entered Fishhook, I got hit by a 4x4 bucky head on. At least I didn't need to go to court that day. I went to hospital. You know, the impact sent me 71 meters through the air. They removed my one testicle out my throat and the other one out of my chest. That is how hard impact was with the tank on the bike.
Sorry, just a quick one. When they remove the testicle from your throat, what angle do they have to go through? Do they have to go like that through your mouth? Like, do you feel that while it's happening?
No, they did an 11.5-hour operation on me.
Oh, wow.
I was 89 days in a coma. I was 11 months in hospital. When they did the operation, it was 11.5 hours. They had physiotherapist specialists, they had heart specialists, they had, I think they had the whole of the hospital crew there. They were operating, they said it was like something like a marathon operation. They had told my wife to put off the life support. He's brain dead and will be a vegetable. With your human mind, do I look any of those?
No, from this side, it seems you're more unkillable than anything. Like,
that's God's grace and favor.
Absolutely.
That's God's favor. And you know why? Because as he says to us in Jeremiah 29:11, I have a purpose and plan, a plan of prosperity and not to harm you. Today I can see that in my journey with God. Before, what would I say? I'm untouchable and you can't kill me. That's the arrogance and, you know, the macho and the ego talking. When the Holy Spirit talks through you, then you can say, this is God. This is God.
What do you think God's plan was for you then? Do you understand?
Well, everybody knows me over Facebook, over Twitter and Instagram, and if they've dealt with me, if they're personal friends, Everybody says to me, I'm God's gangster. I'm God's gangster.
That's got to be the title of your movie when they make it. That is
Yeah.
very cool name. Can I ask what it was like being shot?
To be very honest with you, you don't feel it immediately.
So
You don't feel it immediately.
no.
The adrenaline is going so heavy. You know, my son was shot in my car next to me. He was 6 years old. He would have been 35 years old now. You know, there was a hit out on me. I had become a known bodyguards, a known gang leaders. We call it bodyguard, but I tell everybody we become people's idiots. That's what we become.
Yeah.
We become people's slaves. I was his driver. I was his, and I used to think this made who I am. Wow, look at me! I got a status now. Little did I know how much he was actually using and abusing me. So I was actually the stupid one, but I thought I was the good one. I was the brave. I was the. They had opened fire on the car. They pelted the car with 21 bullets. Not one. No, sorry, one scathed my arm. But I got splattered with his head. I got splattered with my head. His blood, and you know that triggered something else in me. I lived from there. I lived the life of, I don't care if you're not a gangster. If your son or your husband or your child or your whoever's a gangster, I'll shoot you, man.
Yeah.
You did it to my son. My son wasn't a gangster. So I didn't care if you were a mommy coming from work, a father coming from church, he's a pastor. If your son is a gangster, I'm shooting you. Yeah. That is the mindset that I had. And how did I justify that? You did it to my son.
Did you ever find the man that killed your son?
Yeah, he died, but what happened was 3 years ago, my wife and I, we've got a daughter also whose father was also killed in gang crossfire 9 years ago. She's with us in the house now. I took her 3 years ago on Father's, no, sorry, I lie. It was 5 years ago on Father's Day. I took her to the grave to go and clean up a bit. And while we were standing there, I had heard someone call my name, but they called my name on the name that I was known when I was in the world. So immediately the red flags were going, because if you call me by that name, you know me from that affiliation. And yeah, I've got my family and was in Cape Town, like it's in Grassy Park in Clip Road. It's a very high gang turf, that gang area. And anyway, I moved away from my family thinking the bullets are going to start coming now. So I put distance between me and my family, and I started moving towards the person. And when I got close, I still never recognized who the person was. And then I saw there's a woman and there's 2 kids with. And when I got closer, he obviously saw that I didn't recognize him. And then he mentioned his name. And then he said to me, please forgive me for giving the order that you must be shot, and your son got caught in the crossfire. And, you know, for me, personally, I get invited out. Well, I used to get invited out to a lot of schools to go and share my testimony. And when I got to the point of speaking about my son, the emotions used to overwhelm me. I couldn't speak further. That was my breakthrough of getting peace, was when he confessed to me, even though we knew, and he asked me forgiveness. That was actually my breakthrough. That today, it's a message for some other dads out there. Our doings, how our families get affected by our infections. And I found peace there.
Did you forgive him?
I've forgiven him, and today he's an evangelist, and he's a kingdom builder, and he's doing good for the Lord.
Oh wow, that's crazy. You became involved in shop burglaries as a child. Was that a part of what started that?
The burglaries,
Yeah.
the greed for money,
Yeah.
the greed for money. There's no way of saying, oh, it's because I was using drugs, and it was because it was the greed for money.
What drugs were you using?
I was a person, anything you can bring, let's do it. But I was very much into my acid, my LSD. I used to like my ecstasies. I was a mandrake smoker. Well, let's put it, I used to eat it, snort it, smoke it, whatever. I was never a person for heroin. I used to like to shoot sodium seconals, Vulcanals, but I was never one for a downer. When I say downer, I'm talking about heroin straight. I didn't, but anything else, bring it on. That's how I was.
So sorry to go back. You said your daughter was her biological father was a gangster as well.
Yeah.
So how did you end up adopting her?
It's my wife's daughter from a previous marriage.
Oh, okay.
And the father was on his way from work when the gangsters had a shootout with SAPs, and he was caught in the crossfire. He was coming from work.
Sorry to hear that. And how is she adjusting to life now? Having been through that.
We try and shadow and support where we can, but it's hard. It is hard. But we just usually what I tell people a lot is the effect and the amount of trauma that the brokenness of a fatherless figure creates in a person. And everyone, when it starts manifesting, everyone, what do they want to say? The child is just naughty. The child is just being silly. No. The child is broken.
Yeah.
And anything broken needs to be fixed and be healed in order to be restored. There's no shortcuts. And I'm a strong believer, it's only through love that's going to happen. It's only going to be through love that's going to happen.
Yeah, absolutely. South African prisons are among the most notorious in the world. What was it like serving time in those kind of prisons?
Well, okay. My prison life started off, and I ended up in a prison in the apartheid years, which was very notorious for the hardened criminals in Caledon. It's called Cullinan, sorry. It's called Sonavata. And the first day that I arrived there, 17 years old, I'm standing outside the office, and that time there wasn't, in the apartheid years in the white prisons, there wasn't numbers gangs like 26s, 27s, and 28s. The more the gangs was little cliques. Us 10 guys, we financially well off, and we all here for armed robbery, so we form a little clique. Me and you are there for dealing with another 150,000 dealers, so we all form a clique. And in the prisons, the gangs get control, but in those years in the white prisons, the more high-profile prisoners would get control, because the high profile would come with money and status, and things. That's how it was done. That very first day that I stood there, I had already, because I had come from a prison in Joburg Central, which name was Diepkloof. They used to call it Sun City. I had laid there for quite a while, and there I already built a little bit of a name. I used to be a little boxer. So I had built a bit of a name and a reputation as a fighter. And when I arrived at sort of at the prison, that's more where the long-term, the life prisoners and the 40, 50 years and 30 years, people have already been in like 30 years. And when I was standing outside the office, there was this one person, he was known for grabbing all the young little boys when they come into prison. And he said to me, okay, you'll come to my cell, but he had already been there about 30 years. He was about twice the age, been in prison twice the length of what my age was by the time I arrived. And he said, you're going to sleep with me tonight. And I thought, all right, the only way that I can send a message here to this man, now I'm on unfamiliar territory. I've just arrived here. We're standing all outside the office, a whole lot of new guys. And I did the unthinkable. I punched him so hard that I think he forgot what day of the week it was. But just that small action already sent out a reputation in that prison.
Yeah.
And then there was a very well-known boxer in South Africa. His name was Jimmy Abbott. His brother was in prison with me. And straight away, when he saw that, he immediately took me under his wing, because he could see just by the punch and all that I had boxing experience. And his brother was a well-known South African boxer. You can Google it today.
Yeah.
And then he said to me, come, this is where, at that office is normally where you separate the men from the boys, or the men from the bitches. And then, like, he will take everyone that's been decided, I'm going to fight my way through here. I'm not going to lay my way through in prison on my back.
Yeah. Who taught you to box? Or like, how did that come about, like originally?
Well, going through industrial schools and reformatories and things like that, that's your only form of defense, attack.
Yeah.
Is you have to learn to be able to stand behind your fists.
What was the effect once you hit this guy and obviously all this happened? What happened to him after that?
Well, he's been so long there that first of all, the warders don't they don't approach him on him, because they just let him do what he wants to do.
Yeah.
But when he's there so long, if he decides to turn around and make the prison Diamakai, he's got enough influence to do that. So things like that normally get just let slide and things, you know.
Yeah. Given the country's history of racial issues, is there much racism or ethnic tension behind bars?
You know, I was okay. It's put like this: when the apartheid years were on, there was African prisons, colored prisons, and white prisons. Because my mother had registered me, and she was a white lady, I was registered as a white person. Before the apartheid, it was around, I think it was 1991. I'm speaking under correction. When I got arrested again and I went back to prison, they put me in a prison that was those years was medium B at Paulsmore. That was just for the white people. I didn't want to be there. And what I had to do is I had to apply to Home Affairs to have my nationality changed from white to colored. And then I had to write a letter and hand it in by the area commissioner of Paulsmore, and had to go to I think to headquarters, where I'm asking to go to a colored prison, and if anything happens to me, I won't hold the state liable. I did that, and the process went, and when I looked again, they took me over to Paulsmore Maximum, and I was, how can I say, at home. At home.
What was the difference between the white prisons and the black prisons?
All right. In those years, the white prisons was a luxury. It was a luxury.
Yeah.
There was beds, there was everyday doctors, and there was dentists, and there was this, and the food was prepared better, and there was a whole lot. No, even in the prisons, the apartheid regime, phew, if you were in a white prison, you didn't really feel you were going there for any corrective behaviors, or any you were actually going to a resort just to rest for a bit.
Yeah.
Just to rest for a bit. Whereas, in the colored prisons, even the warders under the apartheid are getting suppressed so much, and they're seeing the benefits of the white warders compared to them. So that anger and that they carrying, that gets backlash to us that are inmates.
Yeah.
But the gang activity is very much rife, even today, now that it's reintegrated. And if there's not going to come healing, you can put that person back in jail for 10, 20, 30, 40 years. It's not going to help.
Was you within the prison system when they were reintegrated?
Sorry?
Was you in the prison system when they were reintegrated?
Yes, it was outrageous that day. I was already there I've been here for a long time already. I was very much active in the gangs already, and I was, so when they did come over, there was a lot of resistance from the people that they sent over, the white people that they sent over. And I can remember I was asked and fetched to go down to the reception area where all new admissions come through. Was the guys didn't want to come up to into the section or into the prison, they just refused. So I went through and I diffused the situation, and I hung a little bit of carrots. I said, nah, we're gonna go smoke dacha now. Yeah, smoke, yeah. And I was just giving them dacha. So that was the breakthrough with them. And they all just came up, and we filtered them into cells. And you see, what a big thing was, it wasn't correctional services led for the reintegration. The prison population of the white people, they lived with one standard. The prison population of the colored people and African people, they all lived to their own standards. There was no preparation, which would have been a much easier transitional if they had gone the process. Let's get to know each other. Yeah, I knew them because I was, the Cape Flats had become my home. I felt at home there. I'd already picked up to be able to Sabella and the gangs and etc. etc. So but this was a whole lot of people for white collar crime, maybe shoplifting a cheese or shoplifting that or something small. They don't come out of the gangs and things like that. So it was difficult for them, and that used to, because there was no understanding of each other. That's where the clashes used to come.
Was there a lot of violence in the beginning? Sorry.
Yes, no, there was, because I don't understand your culture and you don't understand my culture. And what makes it double is now you here alone with one or two of your brothers that have come from the white prison with you. And I've got a whole multitude of a gang behind me, of gangs behind me.
Yeah.
You see, so
Yeah.
it was very, very difficult. I adapted, and like I said, for me, I was at home. I got involved. I didn't just want to be a spectator. Um, I'm a participator, yeah. And how do you climb the gang ranks? Because I want to start climbing. Um,
And
um, I
you
was the first white prisoner to be officially made a prison gangster.
yeah. You were involved in a prison escape. How did that come about?
We went to court, and we had arranged. The mother of one of my kids that I was previously married to had worked in the necessary firearm and things that we needed to get out. And yeah, we did what we had to, and we went home.
And what made you eventually decide to leave crime? What was the final step?
All right. My youngest daughter, she was just born. Um, I my car was there was a people had heard that I'm moving guns up and down, etc., etc. And I'm filtering guns in because I had a lot of connections in the Navy of people that were on drugs. So um, I don't sell you drugs for money. I sell you drugs for firearms. And I had a flow of firearms that come out was the fire at the Navy. Um, so people had heard and speculated that I was back in the game again. So not out of fear for me. I'm just another little peanut in the packet. Um, but because of the fear of what I could access to filter in, that's what makes the problem. Um, then there was a hit on me, and they drove my car off Oakapseweg. It plunged 85 meters down. Um, yeah, that was a journey. Um, they said to my wife again, put off the life support. He's brain dead. He'll be in a coma. And again, God said, no, not on your time, on my time. I've still got to work for him. And I was in hospital, was in coma, came out. When I left the hospital, um, I didn't know who I was. I knew nothing. Um, that 9 months after the accident, when I left the hospital, until I had an encounter with God, everything I can tell you is only what was told to me. Um, my wife had to leave her work because we didn't have money to get a carer to look after me. So she left her work to look after me full time. And it was as bad. I was in nappies. I used to live in nappies. That's what they tell me. I can't remember these things. My wife was in a Bible study classes at that stage. So every time she used to go to Bible study, she would have to take me with. Everybody in the Bible study and in the church saw this, and they knew. And that's when they started supporting my wife. Then they said to her that it's best that my wife, I, and the daughter, she was still a baby, come live at the church where they can set people in to help me and things like that. Because I couldn't even eat. I used to be fed. Couldn't go to the toilet myself. I had nappies. Yeah, it was. And she, for the whole 9 months, she just went, and she used to take me to church on Sundays, she'd take me to Bible study in the week, twice a week. And She was in the worship team, then she takes me to worship with, and then I would just get up and start walking around and looking at things and not knowing and talking all funny things, and then they would all get them and get me down again. And this had carried on for 9 months. And then it was one Sunday in church. To put it shortly, they said I'd never remember anything. That day in church, I remember the first hiding I ever got from my dad.
Wow.
That was a spiritual awakening, a divine intervention. But whatever it was God. Whatever it was God.
Yeah, God spoke to you.
You know, I've seen some of the speech therapists that I used to go to, and they don't believe it's me. They think I'm the twin brother. They think I'm the twin brother.
You've since helped missing person organizations to help find children who are missing or have been trafficked. Can you say a little bit about that, please?
Yeah, I've been asked on 1 or 2 occasions by families. The last matter that I was asked to assist with, it was a family from Pretoria. At that stage, the child had been missing for 18 months. There was a case. They contacted me and asked, could I assist? They've come to learn the child is in Cape Town. And I said to him, well, I'm sorry, I can't help because this is a registered matter with the SAPS. It's got a case number. And it's registered with the Pink Ladies. I can't get involved unless they ask me to get involved. And then the investigating officer phoned me a little while after that. And he asked me the same thing. And I said to him, yeah, well, sure, put something on paper and email it to me and we'll see what we can do. The short and the long, after I got the email, it was 3 days and I had her. I was en route to as soon as I got her, I was en route to the airport. It's only God. I had the tickets booked for me and her, and I haven't got money. People think I'm rich. I ain't got money. I don't work. I do kingdom work. But I had the tickets booked, paid for, and when we arrived there, her family were waiting, and I handed her over to her family again. You know, I always tell people, ask me, how did you do that? How did you do that? I didn't do anything. God did it. I'm just a vehicle. I'm just a vehicle. So yeah, I do a little bit of that. But I'm God's gangster. I'm God's gangster.
And you also become a victim and trauma counsellor. How did that come about?
I was very, you know, I've got a lot of people that I must thank that have been on my journey, you know. That's what people must understand, the amount of support that you give to someone in recovery. That support alone is what actually helps them to push through. And I used to volunteer at an organization here in Cape Town, in South Africa, alcohol and drug concerns. It was managed by a pastor named Pastor Winston Eddie, Pastor Eddie Hendricks, sorry. They've got a church reconciliation ministry, and through alcohol and drug concerns, they offered the life skills course, which he said to me, Alan, there's an opportunity. If you want, avail yourself. And I grabbed it with both hands.
Yeah. What made you want to do that?
You know, if we go back what I said to you just now about Jeremiah 29:11, God's purpose and plan for our lives, for him to use us better. I always tell people, God calls the unqualified and qualifies them. He calls the unqualified and qualifies them.
Yeah.
This was God's way of beginning to mold and shape me, equip me better. And he took me out of the gang life, he took me out of the drug life, and he gave me authority to go and step there where serpents are.
Yeah.
But this is all part of the equipping. And I just thought, for me to be more effective in what he wants me to do. And it's basically, he wants us to be servants. So we must equip ourselves better to be more effective, to impact people's lives.
And finally, what advice would you give to people who have been involved in the gang life and are looking to get out of it?
Yeah. The first thing we must do is we must be able to admit our mistakes. And you'll see what happens as well. We'll admit our mistakes, and then we'll come with a but. Yes, I did wrong, but. Yes, I committed that, but. You've got to get to a stage of setting yourself free, and come to admittance and say, I faulted. I mean, even God's word says to us, all of us have fallen short. Yet now God declares us not guilty if we in Christ. Proverbs 3:23 and 24. There is a way. That's a myth, what they say, oh, you can't walk away, there's only one way in and one way out. Nonsense, utter lies. Everything concerning the gangs is lies and deception.
Yeah.
Lies is a manipulation. God's grace, I'm still standing today. And we all fall short. Every day, we all fall short in our own ways. But that doesn't say, okay, well, now I'm going to go back to gangs, and now I'm going to go. We all get pushed into situations where we feel our back is against the wall. You know what I say then? That's when God's building character in me.
Yeah.
He's building character in me. And watch out. You say there's a setback. Watch out for the comeback. Because with God, you will always stand victorious. So I'm not saying, I'm not meaning I'm going to be arrogant. No. I'm just very confident, and I know who I am in Christ, and he will make me more than a conqueror. So it doesn't matter how hard the challenges look. I mean, I've gone through all the physical challenges of pains and hurts and sores and bumps, but he's carried me through, and I'm back. I've gone through chemo. When I was first diagnosed with cancer, they said to me, maybe 12 to 18 months. That was 3-4 years ago. I'm still in remission. They diagnosed me with melanoma, and it was a whole big outrageous thing. That's why you'll see I take the glasses on and off. I've got a bit of with the eyes, so keeping the glasses on too long, it's a bit difficult. Put it back on. They said operation, and you 50-50, you could lose your eye and and you know what? I've had the eye operation. I see better out of the eye that they operated on than the eye that was no problems before the operation. But they told me you got a 50-50 of losing your eyesight totally.
Yeah.
Look what God did. He gave me the eyesight better back through that eye. What I can tell people, if you want to walk away from gangs, don't walk away alone. Walk away with God. Walk away with God. make sure your motive of wanting to walk away is pure. It's pure.
The last question I want to ask is you've had quite a story. I mean, you've done a lot. You've caused a lot of hurt by the sounds of it, and you've also been working to rectify that. Have you found peace with the things that you've done?
First of all, yes, I have. God has forgiven me. I've made amends where possible. Where possible.
Yeah.
What I do now is, this is my way of daily making amends when I give back to the community. I don't care where it is on the Cape Flats. I used to be 24 hours on the go, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, in and out. I don't do that anymore. We serve a God of order. So he's brought me back in alignment. Because with me doing that, I was bringing disruption to my own home. Kids would have to go to school in the morning, but I'm leaving 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning. So I had to start bringing back order in my life and in my family life before I can go out. Because they say, it starts at home. So how can I bring order in your house, but I'm creating disorder in my house through my in and out movements? So I've had to get it more timeline, more discipline, more order. Contact me office hours. I'll deal only with an emergency after hours. And don't phone me and tell me your son is swearing and now that's an emergency. Or your son has decided he wants to go to rehab now, 2 o'clock in the morning. And no. Let's see if he's committed. We'll phone me tomorrow office hours.
And thank you, Alan, for coming and taking the time to talk to us. I really appreciate that. Where can the people find you?
Okay, I've got a Facebook page, my personal page, Alan Rehbock. I've got a group, Healing Waters Community. They can email me, motivationalalan@gmail.com. My WhatsApp is 07928444120. That's my WhatsApp and my 24-hour number. Otherwise, they can invite me around and I'll pop around for some coffee. I love coffee.
That's not a bad shout. Thank you so much for watching. Before you do anything, make sure you hit the bell, like, subscribe. And if you're going to comment, just take a second to think about it before you do. It'll go a long way. Thank you so much. Thank you, Alan.
God bless you guys, and thank you very much, and keep doing what you're doing, and God will give you guys the strength.